Somewhere between what is real and what should never be remembered, there exists a place where stories are buried, not written in books, not spoken aloud, but passed from fear to fear. These stories were never meant for you. They were locked away, forgotten, sealed behind silence. Every voice you hear belongs to someone who listened too long. Tonight, you will hear what they heard, and once it enters your mind, it doesn't leave. This is your final warning. Welcome to the stories that watch you back.
Marcus Hale's security booth smelled like old coffee and warm plastic. The Franklin Towers garage sat like a concrete ribcage beside the street. 8 floors of echo and fluorescent fatigue. Marcus had been here 3 months. Long enough to memorize every camera angle and every lie the city told itself after midnight. Nothing happens here. It's just noise. That's just the wind. His phone said 12:47 a.m. and his eyelids felt heavy, but the night outside was alert. Neon buzzed across the street. A diner sign, closed for renovation, still flashed red like a heartbeat. Then the scream came. Not loud. Not clean. It started as a breath that turned into a sound and then didn't know how to stop. It slipped between buildings and under the garage's metal stairwells like it belonged there. Marcus froze, halfway through lifting his cup. The scream cut off. Silence rushed back like water filling a crack. Marcus stood, chair scraping the floor. He leaned toward the booth window, scanning the street. The alley across from Franklin Towers was a narrow black seam between brick walls, littered with trash bags and damp cardboard. The diner's red glow bled into it, painting the wet pavement like spilled paint. Probably someone messing around, Marcus muttered. He didn't believe himself. He turned to the monitors. 8 feeds. The lobby entrance. The stairwells. The ramps. And 1 alley cam mounted on a pole. That feed flickered. Static crawled across the screen in quick, insect-like patterns. Marcus squinted. The static formed shapes for a second, like a face trying to remember how to be a face. Then, a single clear frame. A tall figure in the alley, standing too still. Pale features. A smile that didn't match the rest of the scene, like it had been pasted on. Eyes that looked wrong on a human face. Not glowing, not red, not theatrical. Just too dark, like holes cut into paper. The feed snapped back to normal. Marcus's throat tightened. He tapped the keyboard, rewound. The footage stuttered and played the same 10 seconds again. No figure. No movement. Just wet pavement and a trash bag shifting a little in the wind. His skin prickled. He reached for the radio, thumb hovering over the button to call building security or the cops. A sound from behind him stopped his hand. Not on the door. On the glass. The booth window was at Marcus's left shoulder. He turned slowly, expecting a stray leaf, a bird, anything. Nothing. Then again, tap. Not frantic. Patient. Like someone testing a fish tank. Marcus stared through the glass at the garage interior. Fluorescent lights hummed. The nearest stairwell door was shut. The ramp beyond was empty. But the tapping didn't come from inside. It came from the outside edge of the window. From the street-facing side. Marcus's breath shortened. He leaned closer, eyes scanning the darkness beyond the booth. Streetlight glare made reflections on the glass. His own face hovered there. Wide eyes, pale skin, a man who suddenly remembered he was made of meat. A shadow moved near the window. Marcus jolted back. The shadow didn't rush. It didn't lunge. It simply occupied space. Then the diner's red neon flickered and brightened for a second, throwing light across the street. In that red wash, Marcus saw a hand. Long fingers. No gloves. The skin looked too smooth, too pale. The fingertips rested gently on the glass. A face followed, slowly rising into view like a person standing up from a crouch. The smile was there again. Marcus couldn't move. The figure stared at him through the glass as if Marcus was the one on display. Then the diner sign buzzed and blinked out. The red light died. The street went darker. The face vanished into shadow. Marcus slammed the booth door lock, even though it was already locked. His hands shook so badly the keys rattled. He grabbed the radio. "Franklin Security to dispatch," he said, voice too high. Possible disturbance outside. Alley across from Franklin Towers." Only static answered. Marcus hit the button again. "Dispatch? You there?" Static. The monitors flickered. One by one, the feeds developed faint snow, as if the night itself was tuning them away from reality. Marcus's phone buzzed in his pocket. He yanked it out and stared at the screen. No caller ID. He didn't answer. The phone kept buzzing, then stopped. A text appeared. "Look up." Marcus's eyes rose, reluctant. The booth ceiling was a low slab of metal and fluorescent paneling. Something scratched across it. Not from above. From inside, like nails dragging along the inner surface. Marcus backed up until his spine hit the wall. The scratching traveled, slow and deliberate, circling. Then it stopped. A final text popped up. "Midnight is open." And outside the booth, somewhere close, something breathed. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a quiet inhale that suggested hunger. Sirens came 10 minutes later, wailing down the street like the city's conscience arriving late again. Marcus stayed in the booth, lights on, door locked, heart punching at his ribs. He watched police tape go up across the alley. He watched 2 cops talk with a building manager. He watched a paramedic crouch near something off camera, partially hidden by a dumpster. He couldn't see a body, but he could see the way the paramedic's shoulders tightened. He could see the way one officer turned his face away, jaw clenched. When an older detective arrived, coat collar up, tired eyes, a notebook in hand, Marcus felt a strange relief. The detective moved like someone who'd seen the city's worst and refused to let it impress him. The detective entered the parking structure with a uniformed officer. Marcus unlatched the booth door only when he saw the badge. The detective introduced himself as Detective Lena Ward. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp enough to cut glass. "You heard something?" she asked. Marcus nodded too fast. A scream. Around 12:47. Then the cameras glitched. Ward's gaze flicked to the monitors. Glitched how? Marcus swallowed. He hesitated, worried that saying it out loud would make it real. "I saw a person," he said, "on the alley cam. Tall, pale, smiling." The uniformed officer snorted under his breath. Ward silenced him with a look. "You rewound it?" Ward asked. "Yes. It wasn't there on playback." Ward leaned closer to the screen, watching the alley feed. Her reflection layered over the alley's darkness like a ghost in a mirror. "What about outside the booth?" she asked. Marcus's mouth went dry. Someone tapped on the window. Ward's face didn't change, but her pen paused above her notebook. "Anyone else see it?" she asked. "No. I was alone." Ward wrote something down, then looked at Marcus again. "Listen to me carefully, Mr. Hale. It's Marcus." Marcus. Did the tapping feel like a threat? Marcus opened his mouth. What came out surprised him. "No," he said softly. It felt like checking, like it was making sure I was awake. Ward held his gaze longer than was comfortable. Then she nodded once, like she'd just confirmed something. "I need a copy of your footage," she said. "All of it. From 12:30 to 1:10. Marcus pointed to the DVR. "I can export it." Ward watched him do it, her presence heavy in the booth. When the file finished, she took it in a sealed evidence bag. As she turned to leave, Marcus asked the question he'd been choking on. "Did someone die?" Ward paused at the door. Her eyes drifted past Marcus's shoulder toward the garage ramp, toward the stairwell shadows. "Someone's missing a lot," she said, carefully. "That's not an answer." Ward looked back. "It's the only answer that fits." Then she left. Marcus sat down hard, lungs tight. Outside, the cops worked. Cameras flashed. People whispered. But the alley across the street looked unchanged. Wet pavement, trash, a red neon sign flickering back to life. Marcus stared at it and thought he saw something move behind the dumpster. A pale sliver. A smile that wasn't there when he blinked. His phone buzzed again. No caller ID. This time he answered. "Hello," he whispered. A voice came through, soft as velvet. "Thank you for looking up," it said. Marcus's blood turned cold. "Who is this?" The voice chuckled, a small amused sound. "Someone who appreciates witnesses," it said. "The city has so few honest ones." Marcus tried to speak, but his throat wouldn't cooperate. The voice continued, almost gentle. "Don't be afraid," it said. "You are not dinner." The line went dead. Marcus stared at his phone until the screen dimmed. Then, in the dark reflection of the glass, he thought he saw a face behind him. He spun around. Nothing. Just fluorescent hum and the long, empty ramp. But in the silence, a thought pressed into his mind like a thumbprint. Midnight is open. Detective Lena Ward didn't sleep much anymore, but she'd learned to rest her eyes while her mind stayed awake. She sat at her kitchen table at 3:22 a.m., the Franklin Towers footage playing on her laptop. The alley cam flickered at 12:47. Static. Then a single frame of clarity. If you blinked, you'd miss it. Ward didn't blink. She paused the frame. Zoomed. Enhanced. There, the tall figure. Pale face. That smile. Ward felt a chill that had nothing to do with the room temperature. She'd seen faces like that before, not in real life, but in drawings. In old case files. In the scribbled margins of witnesses' statements when they didn't have words. Ward opened a folder on her desk. A file labeled, "The Midnight Mouth." Unsolved. It wasn't official. It was Ward's private name for a series of incidents that had followed her across precincts like a stray dog. New York, 2016. A subway surveillance feed glitched at 12:47 a.m. One frame showed a pale face, smiling. Los Angeles, 2019. A woman reported tapping on her car window at 12:47. No one outside. Her dashcam recorded static, then one frame of a tall figure. Chicago, now. Always near neon. Always near water. Wet pavement, rain, tunnels, rivers. Always the same time. 12:47 a.m. Ward pressed play and watched as the figure vanished, leaving nothing but the alley's ordinary misery. Then she rewound again and again, scanning details. A sign on the wall behind the dumpster. Graffiti. She paused. Zoomed. Someone had painted a mouth. Not a cartoon. Not a joke. A mouth opened too wide, teeth implied by white streaks. Under it, one word. Open. Ward's stomach tightened. She closed the laptop and stared at her kitchen window. Outside, the street lamp cast a dull cone of light. Rain traced thin lines down the glass. Ward's phone rang. She answered without looking at the caller ID. Ward. A breath on the line, like someone holding back laughter. Ward's grip tightened. Who is this? The voice was soft, familiar in a way that wasn't memory. More like instinct. You're collecting the right pieces, the voice said. Ward sat perfectly still. You were at Franklin Towers. I'm everywhere the city forgets itself, the voice replied. Ward's eyes narrowed. What do you want? The voice sounded pleased, like Ward had finally asked the correct question. I want you to stop calling it murder, it said. It's not personal. It's a schedule. Ward's blood went cold. You have a schedule, she said. Yes, the voice whispered. Midnight opens. Midnight eats. Midnight closes. Ward forced her breath steady. Why 12:47? A pause. Then the voice answered, almost tender. Because that's when the city stops pretending, it said. It's the minute between lies. The line went dead. Ward sat in silence, listening to the hum of her refrigerator, the distant hiss of tires on wet asphalt. Then she realized something. Her kitchen clock read 3:22, but her microwave clock, always wrong, always blinking, had fixed itself. It displayed 12:47. Ward's heart hammered. She stood slowly and walked to the microwave as if approaching an animal that might bite. The numbers stayed steady. Then, behind her, from the kitchen window, tap. Ward turned sharply. The street lamp's light made the glass reflective. For a moment, Ward saw herself. And behind her reflection, faint in the dark, a pale face. Smiling. Ward didn't scream. She didn't run. She raised her phone and took a photo. The screen showed only her kitchen. No face. No figure. But on the glass, in the fog of condensation, a message appeared. Letters forming as if traced by an invisible finger. Witness. Ward backed up, pulse roaring. Then the next word appeared beneath it. Hunt. And beneath that, open. Ward swallowed. The city was offering her two choices. Be a witness, or become something else. Mourning didn't fix anything. It just made the horror look tired. Marcus didn't go home after his shift. He sat in a diner a few blocks away, watching steam rise from coffee he couldn't drink. The TV above the counter played morning news, the volume low. A reporter stood outside Franklin Towers. Police investigating a possible abduction. Marcus's jaw clenched. Abduction. Not the word he would have used. Marcus's phone buzzed again. A text from unknown. You did well. Marcus stared at it until his vision blurred. He typed back before he could stop himself. Who are you? 3 dots appeared. Then a reply. A door. Marcus's hands trembled. He typed, why me? Reply, because you looked up. He swallowed hard. His thumbs hovered. He typed, what do you want? The response came instantly, as if it had been waiting. Come out tonight. 12:47. Riverwalk. Bring the detective. Marcus's stomach dropped. He didn't know how it knew about Ward. He didn't know how it knew he'd spoken to her. He didn't know how to refuse. Across town, Detective Ward stood in a precinct hallway staring at a whiteboard covered in case photos. 3 victims. Different neighborhoods. Same time. Same missing evidence. Same static on cameras. Her partner, Detective Rios, approached with a coffee. You look like you fought a ghost, he said. Ward didn't take the coffee. She pinned a new photo to the board, the graffiti mouth. The word open. Rios frowned. What's that? Ward's voice was flat. An invitation. Rios stared at her. You're losing me. Ward finally looked at him. Have you ever watched a camera glitch and felt like it was on purpose? Rios hesitated. Ward's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. The same velvet voice. Detective, it said, sounding amused. You're early. Ward's face hardened. What do you want? The voice hummed, pleased. The same thing the city wants, it whispered. Honesty. Ward's nails dug into her palm. You're killing people. A soft laugh. I'm correcting a balance, it said, and I'm giving you a chance to understand. Ward's throat tightened. Understand what? The voice lowered, intimate. That the city isn't yours, it said. It's mine. I live in what you ignore. Ward forced herself to speak. Why contact me? Because you can follow patterns, the voice replied. And because you're brave enough to step into the dark. Ward didn't answer. The voice continued. Tonight, it said. Riverwalk. 12:47. Bring the witness. Ward's stomach tightened. Marcus. The voice sounded delighted. Yes, it whispered. Marcus. Click. Ward stared at her phone. Rios watched her face. Ward. Who was that? Ward looked at the board again. At the mouth, the word open, the time 12:47. Then she said something that made Rios go pale. We're going to the Riverwalk tonight, she said. "And we're not going to be late." The Chicago River walk at night looked like a vein running through the city. Dark water, concrete edges, neon reflections pulsing like false life. Marcus arrived early. He didn't know why he came. He'd told himself it was to warn Detective Ward, to help the police, to do something responsible. But deep down, the truth pressed on him like a bruise. He came because something had spoken to him like it owned his fear. Marcus stood near a railing, hands jammed into his jacket pockets, eyes scanning the walkway. The air smelled like damp stone and river algae. The city above roared faintly. Cars, distant voices, the world pretending it was normal. His phone buzzed. Unknown. "Don't look for me. Look for the mouth." Marcus's throat tightened. He glanced along the river wall. Street art layered over old stains and rain streaks. There were tags, murals, sloppy signatures. And then, half hidden behind a staircase, he saw it. A painted mouth. Not a smile. Not a cartoon. A mouth drawn open too wide, as if it didn't know the limits of human anatomy. Beneath it, one word. Open. Marcus's skin went cold. Footsteps approached behind him. He turned and saw Detective Lena Ward walking fast, coat collar up, eyes sharp. She wasn't alone. Detective Rios followed a step behind, jaw tense, one hand near his belt like he wanted the comfort of something solid. Ward stopped a few feet from Marcus. "You texted me like a man who thinks he's being followed by the night itself," she said. Marcus swallowed. "I am." Rios gave Marcus a look that said this guy's cracked. Ward didn't. She looked past Marcus toward the painted mouth. Then, quietly, "It's here." Marcus nodded once, lips pressed tight. "It told me to bring you." Rios scoffed. "It." Ward lifted a hand, silencing him. "Show me your phone." Marcus handed it over. Ward read the text, her face tightening in a way Marcus recognized from the booth. She wasn't scared the way civilians were. She was scared like someone realizing a case was bigger than her badge. Ward handed the phone back. "We don't stay long." Marcus managed a humorless laugh. "I don't think it's asking permission." The river water rippled. No wind had touched it. The neon reflections twisted, warping into shapes that looked almost like letters. Ward stepped closer to the graffiti mouth. Her flashlight beam crawled over the paint. Then she noticed something else. Tiny scratches in the concrete near the wall. Not random. Not wear and tear. Marks that resembled counting. Rios leaned in. "What is that?" Ward's voice went flat. "Tally marks." "How many?" Ward counted silently. 47, she said. Marcus's heart knocked hard in his chest. Ward didn't let him finish. 1247, she said. From beneath the bridge ahead, a sound drifted toward them. A soft tap. Not on glass. On stone. A patient rhythm. Up, up, up. Rios drew his flashlight and pointed it under the bridge. "Police. Show yourself." Nothing. Just darkness and water. Then Marcus's phone buzzed again. "Unknown. You brought her. Good." Ward's eyes snapped to Marcus. "It's messaging now." Marcus's hands shook as he showed her. Ward read it and looked up, scanning the shadows. A voice spoke from somewhere that wasn't quite a direction. Not loud. Not echoing. Just close enough to feel like it was behind your ear. "Detective Ward," it purred. "You found my mouth." Rio spun, flashlight beam whipping. "Who's there?" he barked. The voice chuckled. "That's the wrong question." Ward's posture changed. Subtle, controlled. She planted her feet like she was refusing to be moved. "What are you?" she asked. A pause. Then, "I'm a door the city keeps trying to lock." The air felt heavier, as if the river had exhaled. Ward's eyes flicked to the tally marks. "Why 47? "Because it's my favorite minute," the voice whispered. "The minute the city goes honest." Marcus forced words out. "What do you want?" The voice sounded pleased. I want you to understand the rules, it said, because you keep calling it hunting. Ward's jaw tightened. That's what it is. A soft, amused hum. No, the voice corrected. Hunting is sport. This is maintenance. Rios stepped forward. We can trace this. We can find you. The voice laughed, quietly, like someone humoring a child. You can't find a shadow, it said, but you can follow where it falls. Ward raised her chin. Give me something real. Something shifted under the bridge, not a body moving, but space rearranging. The darkness seemed to deepen, folding into itself. Then, in the black, two eyes appeared. Not glowing, not supernatural in a flashy way. Just too dark to be eyes, like holes that swallowed light. And a smile. The same smile Marcus saw at Franklin Towers. Ward didn't flinch, but Marcus felt his knees weaken. The voice spoke again, gentle as a confession. I'm going to open again tonight, it said. And I'm going to eat. Rios lifted his gun. Ward snapped, Rios, don't. Too late. Rios aimed into the darkness. Step out. Now. The smile widened, and the streetlights above the riverwalk flickered, once, twice, then steadied. In that flicker, Marcus saw something on the concrete near the mouth graffiti. A fresh tally mark carved into stone. 48. Ward saw it too. Her face tightened with dawning dread. It's counting forward, she whispered. The voice exhaled, pleased. Correct. Ward's eyes narrowed. To what? A pause. Then the voice answered softly. To you. The riverwalk felt suddenly too open, too exposed. The city above them roared like it didn't care. And Marcus realized the message wasn't an invitation. It was a schedule. Back at the precinct, Ward didn't file an official report about a talking shadow. She didn't mention tally marks or mouths or a minute between lies. She pulled Rios into her office and shut the door. Rios paced, anger vibrating off him. We should have rushed it, he said. We had it. Ward's stare was sharp. You had a gun pointed at darkness. It spoke, Rios snapped. That means it's physical. Ward opened her laptop and played the Franklin Towers footage again. She paused on the single frame, the pale face, the smile. It's not physical the way you mean, she said. It's physical the way smoke is. Rios frowned. What does that mean? Ward didn't answer immediately. She pulled out her private file, the Midnight Mouth. She flipped to photos from other cases. Subway tunnels, parking garages, rain-slicked sidewalks. Always neon. Always water. Always that time. She slid a photo toward Rios. A woman's dashcam still from Los Angeles, 2019. Static. One frame. The smile. Rios stared. This is the same face. Ward nodded. It's repeating. Rios looked up. So it's a person. Ward shook her head. Or a pattern. Rios exhaled hard, like that idea offended him. Patterns don't text you. Ward tapped her phone. This one does. She opened her gallery and showed the photo she'd taken in her kitchen. Empty kitchen. No face. No figure. But in the corner of the shot, the microwave clock glowed. 12:47. Rios's expression shifted. Not belief, yet, but discomfort. Ward leaned forward. I want you to pull every incident in the last 10 years with CCTV static or missing frames around midnight, she said. Specifically 12:47. Rios hesitated. That's thousands of hours of footage. Ward's voice didn't bend. Do it. Rios swallowed his argument. Fine. Ward continued. And I need you to find out if any of the missing people had something in common. Rios frowned. Like what? Same gang. Same neighborhood. Ward's eyes narrowed. Same lie. Rios stared at her. What does that even mean? Ward didn't know how to explain it without sounding insane. But she felt it in her bones. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't choosing randomly. It was choosing where the city pretended not to see. Homeless encampments under bridges. Back-of-house restaurant corridors. Parking structures. Subway platforms between stations. Places where you could disappear because nobody wanted to admit you existed. Ward's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. "What do you want?" The velvet voice sounded amused. "You're organizing already." "Good." Ward's jaw clenched. "If you're counting toward me, let's skip ahead." A soft laugh. "Brave detective." Ward forced her voice steady. "Why mouths?" The voice paused, like it enjoyed being asked. "Because mouths are honest," it whispered. "They open. They take. They close." Ward's skin crawled. "You're not a door," Ward said. "You're a predator." The voice seemed to smile through the line. "And you," it said, "are finally using the correct word." Ward's fingers tightened around the phone. "Then tell me where." A pause. Then, almost kindly, "Follow the static." Click. Ward stared at the dead screen. Rios watched her. "It's doing this on purpose," he said, quieter now. Ward nodded once. "Yes." Rios swallowed. "So what do we do?" Ward's eyes drifted to her caseboard, to the mouth symbol, to the tally marks, to the minute 12:47. "We set a trap," she said. Rios's face tightened. "For a shadow?" Ward's eyes didn't blink. "For a mouth," she corrected. "And we bait it with something it can't resist." Rios frowned. "What's that?" Ward's voice was low. "A witness who keeps looking up," she said. Marcus tried to quit. He walked into Franklin Towers at noon, daylight making the lobby look harmless and corporate. He told the manager he was done, effective immediately. The manager blinked. "You can't just—" "I can," Marcus said. His voice sounded steadier than he felt. "I don't feel safe." The manager sighed like Marcus was complaining about the coffee machine. "You're on contract." Marcus laughed once. "Then consider this breach. Consider it whatever you want. I'm not working nights." The manager's eyes narrowed. "If you walk, you don't get paid." Marcus didn't care. He left the building feeling lighter, until his phone buzzed. Unknown. "You can't quit a doorway." Marcus stopped on the sidewalk. The city moved around him. People walking, traffic, normal life. He stared at the message until the words blurred. He typed back with shaking thumbs. "Leave me alone." Reply. "I am leaving you alone. You are not dinner." Marcus swallowed. Then another message. "But you are the bell." Marcus's chest tightened. He typed. "What does that mean?" 3 dots. "When you look up, others notice the dark." Marcus felt sick. He put the phone away, trying to pretend it was just a sick prank. As he started walking again, every window reflection felt suspicious. Every shadow looked a little deeper than it should. And every time a digital clock flashed near him, at a pharmacy sign, a bus display, a bank screen, it seemed to linger, just a fraction too long, at 12:47. That evening, Ward called him. Marcus almost didn't answer. He answered anyway. "Marcus," Ward said, voice clipped. "We need to talk." "I can't help you," Marcus said quickly. "I'm done. I quit." Ward paused. "It won't let you." Marcus closed his eyes. "So you know," he whispered. Ward's voice softened a notch. "I know enough." Marcus swallowed. "It's counting toward you." Ward didn't deny it. "Yes." Marcus's hands shook. "Then why do you want me involved?" Ward exhaled. "Because it's already involved you." Marcus's throat tightened. "No. No. I'm not doing this." Ward's voice firmed. "Marcus, listen. It called you a bell." Marcus went still. It said that to you too? Ward's silence was answer enough. Marcus whispered, "What does it want from me?" Ward's voice lowered. "I think it wants you to keep looking up." Marcus's stomach twisted. "So it can eat." Ward didn't say the word. She didn't need to. Marcus's voice broke. "I don't want to be part of this." Ward spoke carefully. "Then help me end it." Marcus laughed weakly. "You can't end something that's everywhere." Ward's tone sharpened. "Maybe not. But we can close one mouth." Marcus's breath hitched. "How?" Ward's answer was quiet and terrible. "By making it come to us," she said. "On purpose." Marcus felt cold. "You want me as bait." Ward didn't pretend otherwise. "Yes," she said, "but not as food. As signal." Marcus tried to speak, but panic squeezed his throat. Ward continued. "It's hunting places where nobody looks." "You looked." "That disrupted it. If we can control where you look, where the city looks, we can force it into a spotlight." Marcus's laugh was bitter. "A spotlight doesn't stop hunger." Ward's voice was iron. "Then we give the hunger something it can't swallow." Marcus swallowed hard. "What's that?" Ward hesitated, rare for her. Then, "Truth," she said. Marcus whispered, "I don't know if I have that." Ward's reply was immediate. "You do," she said, "because you're scared and still answering the phone." Marcus closed his eyes. He knew he'd say yes before he said it, because refusing didn't feel like freedom. It felt like stepping backward off a ledge and hoping the dark wouldn't notice. The trap was simple on paper. Too simple. A public place. Cameras everywhere. Bright lights. People close enough that disappearing would be difficult. Ward chose Navy Pier. Tourist-heavy even at night. Security. Open sight lines. Multiple CCTV feeds. Ward and Rios coordinated with private security quietly. No panic, no news, no reason for the city to pretend, and thus invite the mouth deeper. Marcus showed up wearing a jacket that felt too thin. Ward met him near a row of closed kiosks. The lake wind cut through everything. Rios stood nearby, scanning. Two security guards lingered at a distance, pretending to be casual. Ward spoke low. "We stand under the cameras. You keep your phone on. If it texts, you show me immediately." Marcus nodded, throat dry. "And if it doesn't come?" Ward's gaze stayed on the dark lake. "It will." Marcus hugged his arms. "You sound sure." Ward's voice was colder. "It already said it's counting toward me." The pier lights buzzed overhead. Reflections danced on the water like nervous hands. Marcus's phone buzzed. He almost dropped it. Unknown. Good place. Bright. Another buzz. "Do you feel safe?" Marcus's breath caught. He showed Ward. Ward typed back before Marcus could stop her. "Yes. Come talk." A pause. Then a reply that made Marcus's stomach drop. "I am talking." The lights overhead flickered. Only once. But every camera pole along the pier made a soft clicking sound, like they'd all blinked. Ward's radio crackled. "Camera feed just spiked with static for a second," a security voice said. "But it's back." Ward's face tightened. "Where?" "All of them," the guard replied. Marcus's skin prickled. He looked around. People were still there. Couples, a few tourists taking late-night selfies, someone walking a dog. Normal. But the air felt tuned, like the city was holding its breath. Ward whispered to Marcus, "Do not look away." Marcus swallowed. The pier lights flickered again. This time, the flicker lasted too long. In that dim second, Marcus saw it. Not rushing toward them. Not dramatic. Just standing near a bench 50 feet away. Tall. Pale face. The smile. A woman walked past the bench without noticing it, like her eyes slid off the shape. Marcus's knees went weak. Ward saw it too. Her hand slowly rose, pointing, not at the figure, but at the nearest camera pole. "We have it on multiple angles," she murmured. "Rios, do you see it?" Rios's voice came tight. "Yeah." His hand hovered near his gun, but he didn't draw. He'd learned something at the Riverwalk. You didn't threaten a shadow like it was a man. Marcus's phone buzzed again. "Unknown. You are all looking up." Marcus's mouth went dry. Another message. "Now everyone will see the hunger." Ward's eyes narrowed. "That's the point," she whispered. "We show it. We expose it." The figure tilted its head slightly, like a curious animal. Then it moved. Not walking, not running. It simply appeared closer, now 20 feet away. The air turned cold. People nearby laughed, unaware. The dog's ears flattened and it whined. Ward's voice stayed steady, but Marcus heard strain beneath it. "Don't run," she said. "Don't blink if you can help it." Marcus's eyes burned. He kept them open. The figure stopped a few feet from them. Up close, it was worse, not because it looked monstrous, but because it looked almost human, like something had studied humanity from a distance and copied the outline. Its skin was pale and too smooth. Its eyes were deep and wrong, like they didn't reflect light properly. Its smile was neat and patient. "Detective," it said, aloud, not through a phone now, voice soft as velvet. Ward didn't raise her weapon. She didn't back away. "What are you?" Ward asked again. The thing's smile widened. "I'm what happens," it whispered, "when a city feeds on itself for too long." Marcus's breath hitched. Ward's eyes narrowed. "Why the missing people? Why the eating?" The thing supplied politely. Ward's jaw tightened. The thing seemed delighted. "Yes," it purred. "Eating." Ward forced her voice steady. "Why?" The thing leaned slightly closer, as if sharing a secret. "Because there are holes in your city," it whispered. "Places where people fall through. I am what lives underneath." Marcus's phone buzzed. He didn't even look at it. He knew it would be something awful. Ward watched the thing's face, searching for weakness, for a tell. "You're counting toward me," Ward said. The thing's eyes seemed to darken. "Yes." "Why me?" The thing's smile softened into something almost fond. "Because you want to close the mouth," it said. "And I want to see if you can." Ward's voice was a blade. "Then let's see." The pier lights flickered hard, 3 times, rapid. Every nearby screen, phones, kiosk displays, a distant billboard, glitched at once, showing brief static. In that static, faces appeared, dozens, pale, smiling, like reflections of the same hunger. People around them stopped. Not screamed. Stopped. Like their bodies forgot what to do. The dog started barking wildly, pulling at its leash. Marcus felt dizzy. Ward's voice cut through. "Rios. Now." Rios raised a small device, an emitter Ward had borrowed from a tech unit, designed to overload wireless signals and force camera buffers to dump raw frames. A desperate idea. Rios triggered it. For a split second, the air vibrated, silent but felt in teeth and bones. The pier cameras clicked again. Marcus's phone screen went blank. And the thing, just for a moment, lost its crisp outline, flickering like a TV image fighting a signal. Ward's eyes widened. "It's tied to the static," she hissed. The thing's smile faltered for the first time. Not fear. Annoyance. Then it leaned forward, voice dropping to something ancient and hungry. "Careful," it whispered. "If you tear the curtain, you may not like what's behind it." Ward didn't move. Rios triggered the device again. The thing flickered harder. Its smile stretched wider than it should, as if the human mask was slipping. And Marcus saw something behind the smile. Not teeth. Not gore. Just depth. Like staring into a tunnel that went down forever. People nearby began to gasp, clutching their heads like they were hearing something they couldn't translate. Ward barked. "Everyone back. Move. Security guards snapped out of the freeze and started shouting, pushing people away. The pier lights steadied. The static stopped. The thing's outline returned, smooth, pale, smiling again. It tilted its head, amused. "Well done," it said softly. "You made the city look." Ward's voice was cold. "Now we find you." The thing's smile sharpened. "You can try." Then it stepped backward, and the darkness behind it deepened unnaturally, like the night opened its mouth. The thing vanished. Not sprinting, not teleporting theatrically, just gone. Marcus's knees nearly buckled. Ward stood still, breathing hard, eyes blazing. Rios lowered the device, hands shaking. "Did we hurt it?" Ward's voice was low. "We annoyed it." Marcus's voice cracked. It said, "If we tear the curtain." Ward looked at the lake, at the city lights, at the way the night seemed suddenly more aware of them. "We did tear it," she said. Marcus swallowed. "So what's behind it?" Ward's eyes narrowed. "More mouths," she whispered. And Marcus realized Act 2 wasn't about stopping the hunger. It was about learning how big it really was. After Navy Pier, the city felt changed. Not visibly, not in headlines, not in the way people walked to work the next morning, but in the spaces between. Ward noticed it first. Cameras lingered on static half a second longer. Streetlights flickered in patterns that didn't match electrical logic. Every reflective surface, store windows, puddles, train doors, seemed eager to show her something that wasn't there. Rios called it paranoia. Ward called it data. She stood in the precinct's tech room at 11:58 p.m., staring at a grid of live camera feeds. Rios stood beside her, jaw clenched. Marcus sat on a chair in the corner, hands locked together so tightly his knuckles were pale. They didn't want to do this again. But they'd already started. And the city didn't let you stop in the middle of a ritual. Ward had spent the day tracing static clusters. Rios pulled 10 years of incidents and mapped them. The result looked like a constellation, dots across Chicago, connected by a line that hugged the river, the train tunnels, the underpasses. The pattern led to a place nobody wanted to name, the old service tunnels beneath the loop. Maintenance corridors. Abandoned utility chambers. Forgotten passageways that only the city's bones remembered. Ward tapped the map with a pen. "This is where the static originates," she said. "Every spike radiates outward from here." Rios frowned. "You're telling me a ghost lives in a tunnel and messes with Wi-Fi?" Ward's eyes stayed cold. "I'm telling you the city has a mouth, and it opens underground." Marcus swallowed. "We're going down there?" Ward looked at him. "It's counting toward me. That means it's going to come no matter what. We choose where." Rios exhaled hard. "And you chose the place it's strongest." Ward's voice was flat. "Yes." Marcus's voice cracked. "That's insane." Ward finally softened. "Just a fraction. Marcus, when a predator controls the dark, you don't fight it in the dark. You flood the dark." Rios lifted a bag onto the table. Inside were portable floodlights, battery packs, flares, a camera rig wired to record raw frames, and a small metal case with the signal emitter they used on the pier. Ward placed her hand on the case. "This thing reacted," she said. "It flickered." Rios nodded. "Annoyed, like you said." Ward's gaze sharpened. "Annoyed means vulnerable." Marcus stared at the equipment. "And if we make it angry?" Ward's eyes didn't blink. "Then we learn how hungry it really is." At 12:34 a.m., they descended. They entered through a service door behind a construction site, the kind of door you'd never notice unless you were looking for ways beneath the city. The air changed immediately. Cooler, damp, stale with old concrete and distant water. The tunnel swallowed their flashlights. The beams didn't feel like they reached far enough. Every sound echoed back wrong. One step sounded like three. Marcus kept glancing upward, even though there was only concrete above. Ward walked first. Rios followed. Marcus stayed close, phone in hand like it was a talisman. At 12:44, the first camera on Ward's rig started showing faint snow. Ward stopped. Rios raised his flashlight. "You seeing that?" Ward nodded. "We're close." Marcus's phone buzzed. "Unknown." "You came to my throat." Marcus's stomach dropped. Ward held out her hand without looking away from the tunnel. Marcus passed her the phone. Ward typed one sentence. "We're here." The reply came instantly. "Good. Look up." Ward's jaw tightened. "It loves that line." Rios muttered, "Because it works." A drip echoed from somewhere far off. Then another. The tunnel opened into a wider chamber, an old junction where pipes ran along walls like veins. The floor was slick. A shallow film of water reflected their lights, making their beams dance across the ceiling like nervous hands. And in the center of the chamber, a mouth symbol painted in black, bigger than the others. Not graffiti size, not a quick tag, a mural. It looked wet even though it wasn't. Beneath it, carved into the concrete in clean, careful letters. "Open at 12:47." Marcus's breath hitched. Ward checked her watch. 12:46. Rio set the floodlights down and started assembling them with shaking hands. Ward planted the camera rig facing the mural. "All feeds recording raw," she said. "No buffering." Marcus whispered, "What happens at 12:47? Ward didn't answer immediately, because the city answered for her. The tunnel's air shifted, like a door cracked open in a sealed room. Every flashlight beam dimmed a fraction, not because batteries died, because the darkness took more than its share. The water on the floor stopped rippling. The reflections froze. 12:47 hit, and the static arrived like a curtain dropping. Every screen, Ward's rig, Rios's body cam, Marcus's phone, filled with snow. In that snow, a shape formed. A pale face. A smile. Then something else behind it. Something deeper, like more faces layered inside the static, mouths within mouths. A voice filled the chamber, not from one direction but from the concrete itself. "Detective," it whispered warmly. "You brought light." Ward's voice was steady. "I brought truth." The voice chuckled. "Truth is a bright flavor." Marcus's hands shook. He forced himself to look at the mural. The black mouth seemed to deepen, not moving like paint, moving like a hole pretending to be paint. Rios snapped on the floodlights. The chamber erupted in harsh white light. For a moment, the static on their screens thinned, and Marcus saw it clearly. The figure wasn't one body. It was a shape made of interruptions, gaps between frames, skipped moments, missing seconds. A predator built from the city's ignored spaces. It stood near the mural, smiling like it was pleased to be understood. Ward stepped forward. "You're not a person," she said. "You're a system." The thing's smile widened. "Yes." Ward's eyes narrowed. "A maintenance system." A delighted hum. "Also yes." Rios's voice tightened. "You're talking like it's an app." The thing turned its dark eyes toward Rios. "Oh," it whispered. "I'm older than your apps." The floodlights flickered once. The thing stepped closer without crossing the distance, as if distance was optional in its presence. Marcus's phone buzzed again. "Unknown. The city feeds me what IT won't name." Ward read it and felt something snap into place. "People," Ward said. "You feed on people the city forgets." The thing sounded pleased. "I feed on holes." Ward's voice sharpened. "And you make holes." A pause. Then the thing's voice softened, almost tender. "I don't make them," it whispered. "You do." Marcus's throat tightened. He wanted to argue, but he thought about the alley across from Franklin Towers. How easy it was to pretend the scream was nothing. How easy it was for the city to swallow someone and keep walking. Ward took a breath. "You're counting toward me," she said. "Because I'm trying to stop you." The thing's smile sharpened. "Because you want to close the mouth." Ward nodded once. Yes. The thing whispered, then try. And the chamber's darkness deepened again, pulling at the edges of the floodlights like a tide pulling at sand. Ward had planned for fear. She hadn't planned for reality to stutter. The moment the thing said, try, the floodlights didn't just flicker, they glitched, turning the chamber into a series of still images. Marcus saw Ward's face in one frame, determined. In the next, her eyes widened. In the next, the mural mouth looked larger. Between frames, something moved. Not a body. A presence shifting through missing time. Rios shouted, Ward! His voice broke into static mid-syllable. Ward slammed the emitter's trigger. The air vibrated again, felt in teeth, in bones. The static on the screens thinned. The thing's outline wavered, and for the first time, its smile showed strain. Not pain. Disapproval. The thing leaned forward, voice lower. You're ripping my skin, it whispered. Ward's jaw clenched. Good. The thing chuckled softly. If you peel me back, you'll see what you're made of. Marcus's heart hammered. He tried to keep breathing. Then he heard something he hadn't heard before. Not the voice. Not the static. A chorus of whispers, layered beneath everything. Like a crowd in another room. Like voices trapped in walls. Marcus turned slowly, shining his phone light along the pipes. The whispers grew clearer near a grate in the floor where water flowed. He crouched. The grate was old iron, bolted down. Under it, darkness and water and sound. The whispering sounded like names. Not screaming. Just repeating, like an echo that couldn't stop. Ward heard it too. Her expression changed, hardening into fury. You keep them, she said to the thing. The thing's smile softened. I keep what the city discards. Ward's voice rose a notch. You keep them like trophies. The thing corrected her gently. Like inventory. Rios's face went pale. Ward, what is it saying? Ward's eyes burned. It's not killing them for fun, she said. It's filing them away, making them disappear cleanly. The thing's voice purred. Clean is kind. Ward's hand tightened on the emitter. Not if they're still in there. The thing hummed. Some are. Some aren't. Midnight is a process. Marcus swallowed. How do we get them out? The thing turned its dark eyes to Marcus and smiled. Oh, it whispered. You don't. Ward's voice snapped like a whip. We do. Ward triggered the emitter again. Longer pulse. The chamber trembled. The static on screens tore open like paper. And Marcus saw what was behind it. Not a monster with claws. Not a demon with horns. A structure, like a tunnel made of mouths. Doorways layered inside doorways. A network of openings beneath the city, each one leading to another. The thing wasn't one entity. It was the gatekeeper of a system the city had grown like mold. Ward staggered half a step, eyes wide. Rios whispered, That's impossible. The thing's voice softened, almost affectionate. Everything you ignore becomes infrastructure, it said. Ward lifted her chin. So we stop ignoring it, she said. The thing smiled wider. And if you make everyone look, it whispered, the city will panic. Ward's voice was cold. Better panic than feeding. The thing's smile faltered again, briefly. Then the floodlights exploded, bulbs popping with sharp sounds, showering tiny sparks. Darkness surged. Marcus gasped. Ward shouted, Stay together. Rios raised his flashlight, beam cutting weakly through the gloom. The whispering became louder, voices pressing close, like hands on the inside of glass. Marcus's phone buzzed one more time. Unknown. You want to save them? Pay. Marcus's stomach dropped. Ward's voice was tight. It wants a trade. Rios snapped. No. Absolutely not. The thing's voice seeped through the chamber like water through cracks. One truth, it whispered. One hole closed. Ward's throat tightened. What truth? The thing's smile returned. The truth your city doesn't want, it said. The truth you don't want. Ward's eyes narrowed. Say it. The thing paused, savoring, then whispered, You can't close every mouth. Ward's jaw clenched. The thing continued, softer. You can only choose which mouths you become responsible for. Marcus felt his chest tighten. He understood. It wasn't asking for confession. It was asking for ownership. For Ward to accept that if she exposed the system, she'd inherit the city's guilt. Ward took a shaky breath. Then she did the last thing Marcus expected. She nodded. I accept, she said. Rios hissed. Ward. Ward didn't look at him. Tell me the rule, she demanded. The thing's smile widened, delighted. The rule, it whispered, is that the mouth closes when the city names the whole. Ward's eyes sharpened. Names it how? The thing leaned closer, voice intimate. Out loud, it whispered. In front of witnesses. In front of cameras. In front of the places you pretend not to see. Ward's heart hammered. Rios stared. You mean public exposure? The thing hummed. Naming is sealing. Ward's mind raced. If the mouth fed on ignored places, then the opposite was attention. Like witness. Marcus swallowed. So we live stream it. Rios snapped. We can't. We'll cause chaos. Ward's eyes locked onto the mural mouth. A decision formed in her face like steel cooling. We don't live stream the monster, she said. We live stream the whole. And Marcus realized the final battle wasn't going to be guns or gadgets. It was going to be a city forced to look at itself. Ward chose the place with the most cameras in the city. Not Navy Pier. Not downtown streets. Union Station. Because it was a throat, people flowing through, always watched, always recorded, always pretending the city was safe because the lights were bright. At 12:30 a.m., Union Station was quieter, but not empty. Late travelers, night workers, security guards, cameras everywhere. Ward stood near the main hall, wearing her badge openly. Marcus stood beside her, phone in hand. Rios stood a few steps back, tense and pale, the emitter case in his grip. Ward had pulled a small favor with a dispatcher and a station supervisor. Enough to get a temporary access line into the building's public address system, without telling them why. Because if the city knew, it would flinch away. And flinching was what the mouth lived on. Marcus's phone buzzed. Unknown. You brought many witnesses. Ward exhaled slowly. Good, she whispered. At 12:44, the main hall lights flickered. People looked up, annoyed. At 12:46, the air turned cold. Ward heard it, faint tapping like knuckles on glass, coming from the far end of the hall near an unused corridor. A corridor with a maintenance door. A door everyone walked past without wondering what was behind it. Ward lifted her radio. Rios. Cameras ready. Rios swallowed. Ready. Marcus's hands shook. I hate this. Ward glanced at him. Look up, she said, softly, not as a command, but as solidarity. Marcus did. 12:47 hit. Every screen in the station glitched. Departure boards. Phone screens. Security monitors. A half-second of static. And in that half-second, people froze, not fully, but enough to feel it. Like reality caught its breath. At the maintenance door, the darkness deepened. The air seemed to pull inward, like the corridor was inhaling. The tall, pale figure appeared beside the door as if it had always been there. It smiled at Ward. You're naming me, it whispered. Ward stepped forward, voice steady. No, she said. I'm naming the whole. The thing's eyes darkened. You're brave. Ward lifted a small microphone connected to the station PA. Rios's eyes widened. Ward. Ward didn't stop. She pressed the button. Her voice boomed across the hall. "This is Detective Lena Ward, Chicago PD. There is a maintenance corridor behind this door that people have been disappearing into. The city has ignored it. We are not ignoring it anymore." Heads turned. Phones lifted. Security guards stiffened. The corridor's darkness pulsed as if disturbed. The Thing's smile tightened. Ward continued, louder, sharper. "If you see anyone in distress in a place you've learned to look away from, don't. If you hear a scream, don't explain it away. Look. Witness. Report. Record." The hall went silent. Not calm silent. Witness silent. The Thing's voice whispered only for Ward. "You're making them look." Ward's eyes burned. "Yes." The Thing's smile faltered. The maintenance door behind it trembled. Not physically, conceptually, like its idea was weakening. Marcus felt it, like pressure releasing in his ears. Rios triggered the emitter once, timed with the station cameras. The static tore open, and for a brief moment, everyone's screens showed it, not the figure. The hole. A mouth-shaped darkness beyond the maintenance door, too deep to be a hallway. People gasped. A woman covered her mouth. A security guard stumbled back. But the key thing happened. They didn't look away. They stared. They recorded. They named it in their own voices. "What is that?" "Call someone." "Get help." The Thing's voice rose, strained for the first time. "Stop," it whispered. Not a command. A plea. Ward pressed harder. She spoke into the PA again. "This place is opening at 12:47. It's been happening for years. We are closing it. Right now." The darkness behind the door shuddered. The mural mouth system beneath the city seemed to recoil. The Thing's smile cracked like thin ice. It stepped closer to Ward, eyes dark, voice low and hungry. "You can close this mouth," it whispered, "but the city will make new ones." Ward's face was steady. "Then we keep naming them," she said. The Thing stared at her, and for the first time, it looked uncertain, not afraid, but confronted. Ward held her ground. Marcus raised his phone, live streaming, not the figure's face, but the maintenance corridor, the darkness, the station's reaction. The station's cameras caught everything, and the city, finally, looked. The Thing moved like a shadow trying to escape light. It stepped backward toward the maintenance corridor. The darkness behind the door surged, eager to swallow it back into its system. But the hall was full of eyes, full of phones, full of witnesses refusing to blink. Ward spoke one last time into the PA. "We see it." The words didn't sound magical. They sounded human. And that was the point. The Thing's smile twisted. "You'll regret making them honest," it whispered. Ward's voice was low enough that only Marcus and Rios heard it. "Maybe," she said, "but they'll be alive to regret it." Rios triggered the emitter again. The station lights flared. The static collapsed, and the darkness in the corridor shrank, like a mouth forced shut. The air warmed slightly. People exhaled like they'd been underwater. The tall, pale figure flickered, its outline breaking into skipped frames. It tried to smile again, but the smile no longer held. Its voice softened, intimate. "Detective," it whispered. "You can't watch every alley." Ward didn't blink. "No," she said, "but I can teach others to look." The Thing's eyes darkened. Then it did something unexpected. It turned its gaze to Marcus. Its smile returned, gentler, almost grateful. "You were the bell," it whispered. "You rang." Marcus's throat tightened. "I didn't want this." The Thing's smile softened. "No one wants truth," it said. "They just need it." Then the figure dissolved, like static clearing, until nothing remained but ordinary darkness behind a now ordinary maintenance door. Security rushed forward. Station supervisors shouted questions. People recorded. People whispered. People called loved ones. Ward stood still, breathing hard. Rios looked at her. Is it gone? Ward stared at the door. The air felt quieter. Not safe, but quieter. It's closed here, she said. Marcus swallowed. And the others? Ward's eyes didn't soften. The city will try to make more holes, she said. It always does. Marcus looked down at his phone. Messages. Notifications. Clips already spreading. Ward's voice was quiet but firm. Then we keep looking, she said. We keep naming. Marcus felt the weight of it. Not heroism. Responsibility. He looked up at the station ceiling. At the lights. At the cameras. At the faces of strangers who had seen something impossible and didn't immediately bury it. For the first time since 1247 at Franklin Towers, Marcus felt a different kind of fear. Not fear of being hunted. Fear of what it would take to keep the mouth closed. And somewhere, deep under the city, water dripped in forgotten tunnels. A slow, patient rhythm. Not tapping. Not yet. But counting.
Before you go, look around the room for a moment. The story may have stopped here. If any of these stories stayed with you, you're not alone. Comment below the moment that made you pause, the part you can't stop thinking about, or the timestamp that felt too real. And if you don't want to face nights like this alone, subscribe now. New true horror stories every night, longer, darker, and closer to home. Turn off the lights, keep the volume low, and check your surroundings one last time. Good night.